everybody, it's Kelsee Briana J here with a Battle of the Concealers video. And if you guys have never seen one of my Battle of the Concealers video, what's gonna happen is an epic battle where I'm placing some of the newest, hottest concealers up against each other to see which one prevails. So I've done this series on my channel a few times, and in my previous videos I did other concealers that were new at the time, and this time I have an all new batch. So let's go ahead and jump into the specifics of this video because it's gonna be fun and it's gonna be long and it's gonna be crucial. So the concealers that are going to be going head to head are the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Light Capturing Concealer, the Fenty Beauty Pro Filt'r Instant Retouch Concealer, the Smashbox Studio Skin Flawless 24-Hour Concealer, the Giorgio Armani Power Fabric High Coverage Stretchable Concealer. We have the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop Concealer, the Milani Conceal Plus Perfects Concealer, YSL Touche Éclat High Cover Radiant Concealer, and lastly we have the e.l.f. Cosmetics 16-Hour Camo Concealer. So in order to test these concealers in the most fair way possible, I kept a few constants in order for the testing to be consistent, and those constants were my eye cream. Every day I use the Kiehl's Creamy Avocado Eye Cream and I let it sink in for 15 minutes before applying my makeup. And for my foundations, I mixed two. I have the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Foundation and the Too Faced Born This Way Foundation. This one is in the color Y405 and this one is in the color Honey. And I mix these together every single day whenever I was testing these concealers. My under eye setting powder was always the Laura Mercier translucent powder, and my all over setting powder was always the MAC mineralized skin finish in this video. The only things that changed during the course of this video are the color products. All of my complexion products, I kept them the same. So next I used a scoring system to rate the concealers, and the scoring system has 6 different categories, and in each category you can either get a 1, 2, or 3. So what I do is I show you guys me applying the concealer, and then I set it, and then I go through and do the initial rating, which is 4 of the 6 categories. The first category is smoothness. A concealer can either get a 1 for not smooth, a 2 for somewhat smooth, or 3 very smooth. The next category is coverage. A concealer can rate a 1 for little to no coverage, 2 for medium to medium buildable coverage, or a 3 for full coverage. The next category is dryness. A concealer can rate 1 for very dry, 2 for somewhat dry, or a 3 for very moisturizing / hydrating. It doesn't have to be both to get a 3, it just has to be one or the other. The next category is blendability. The concealer can rate a 1 for not blendable at all, a 2 for blends okay / average, or a 3, it blends like butter. So I do those 4 categories before I do my 8-hour wear test. So after I rate the concealer with the 4 initial categories, I then wear it for 8 hours, and I come back every 2 hours and let you guys see the progress of the concealer and give my thoughts on it in each timestamp. So then at the end of me wearing it for 8 hours, I come back and I do the last 2 categories, which the 5th category is creaseability. A concealer can rate a 1 for creases like a mofo, a 2 for creases a little bit more than I like, or a 3 for minimal creasing / does not crease. Now, does not crease is strong. I know that there is going to be some microscopic creasing, but I'm looking for as little to no creasing as possible. And the last category is wear time. So a concealer can rate a 1 for ew, get this off of me, a 2 for looks decent / average, or 3 looking pretty dang on good. So after adding up each score, I then take that number and divide it by 6, which is the number of categories, and that is the concealer's overall score. The score is going to help us understand a little bit more about the concealer. However, if a concealer gets a lower score than another concealer, that does not necessarily mean the other concealer is better. It just may offer different qualities that the other concealer doesn't have. For instance, one of the categories is coverage. Every concealer is not supposed to be full coverage or medium coverage. So I'm not going to fault the concealer for that, but it does change your rating a little bit. So at the end of this video, I'm going to rank the concealers based on their scores, and I'm also going to rank them based on my personal preferences. So I hope that you all enjoy this video. It is a long one. I tried to keep it as constant as possible, but it did take me like a month and a half to film this video. I love doing these type videos. I know that a lot of you all want me to do the powder one next, so I definitely have that one coming. So stay tuned for that, and let me know down in the comments section which concealer is your favorite that I tried in this video. So enjoy. The concealer that we're trying today is the Giorgio Armani Power Fabric High Coverage Stretchable Concealer. This concealer retails for $34 and it has 0.2 fluid ounces or 6 milliliters of product. I have the color 7.75, and in this shade range there are 20 different concealers. So some of the key claims of this concealer are that it's high coverage, matte, non-creasing, stretchable, and that it offers long wear results. This concealer is also formulated with time-releasing oils to glide across skin and offer long wear results. I also really like the applicator of this concealer because it's flat but yet it's pointed at the same time, so you can lay down that product really well and apply it in a precise manner. Let's apply our concealer. I'm going to go in with a few swipes. So let's blend this out. Okay, that blended out with ease. There was no hesitation on that blend. I'm gonna go in with a little bit more right in here. So now let's blend this out and see if it gives me a little bit more coverage. It looks really pretty. I think this looks really nice by itself, but definitely it's the type of concealer that you have to set. So I'm going to go ahead and set it with my powder. What I've been doing is just taking my sponge and dipping it in the powder and then setting it directly with the sponge. So just a little bit, and I'm going to press this in. That looks really good so far. So as you guys can see, this is what it looks like not set, and this is what it looks like set. So I'm going to go ahead and set the other side and finish off my face, and I'll be right back and we can rate this concealer together. So as far as the smoothness of this concealer, I'm going to rate it a 3. It is a very smooth formula. It glides on the face. As far as the coverage, I'm going to rate this concealer a 2. It's medium to medium buildable coverage. I don't really get full coverage from it. It covers up, but I still see a little bit of my skin peeking through, but it does allow you to build up the formula. As far as the dryness, I'm going to rate this a 3. I think this concealer is very moisturizing / hydrating. It feels really good, and it's not dry at all. And as far as the blendability of this concealer, I'm going to rate it a 3. I think this concealer is very blendable, and it blended out like butter. Okay guys, so that was my initial rating. So now what I'm going to do is wear this concealer for the next 8 hours, and I will do check-ins every 2 hours, and I will show you guys the progress of how this concealer is wearing. So I will see you guys in 2 more hours. So here's what the Armani looks like at the initial application. Alright, so this is my 2-hour check-in, and I am at the mall. It's a little bit loud in here, but hopefully you guys can hear me. But I just want to let you guys know that my concealer still looks really good. It still looks smooth. It hasn't faded. It has minimal creasing, and it's giving me a really pretty finish. And I feel like my under eye looks very awakened. It looks just as good as it did when I applied it 2 hours ago. So I'll check back in 2 more hours. It is my... I'm trying not to get hit by a car here. I think my under eye looks just as bomb as ever. Like, it's smooth, it's bright, it's pretty. I like it, and I like it a lot. So I'll check back in 2 more hours, guys. So I am back, and it is my 6th hour check-in, and I am happy to report that my under eye still looks really good. Like, and when I say really good, I mean really, really good. I've done a lot today, but I am happy to report that my concealer has been a trooper. It still looks good. It doesn't look dry. It's not splotchy. Even with me tearing up over here, that concealer still is intact. So I'm excited about it. I feel like it's gonna end with a bang, but we will see. 2 more hours and I will be back and we can do the final scoring together. Look at that smoothness. I'm impressed. Alright guys, so I am back and my voice is like destroyed right now. So I'm just going to make this quick. As far as the creaseability of this concealer, I'm going to rate it a 3. Honestly, I feel like it lasted very well. I feel like this concealer had extremely minimal creasing. Only thing is that I got a little teary-eyed and I lifted some of it up, but other than that, this concealer did not crease all day. And as far as the wear time, I'm going to rate this concealer a 3. I feel like it wore exceptionally well. It looks great, especially considering the fact that I am somewhat sick and my eyes are tearing up, my voice is gone. So here's after 8 hours what this concealer still looks like. That's amazing. So I'm going to put you guys out of your misery and stop talking. So here's my final score. The concealer that I am using today is the YSL Touche Éclat High Cover Radiant Concealer. Here's the concealer. It has very beautiful packaging. This concealer retails for $35 and it has 0.08 fluid ounces or 2.5 milliliters of product. I have the color 4.5 and there are 16 different shades of this concealer. Some of the key claims of this concealer are that it's natural, buildable, and has weightless coverage. It's dark circle correcting and it has ingredients like ruscus and caffeine in it to combat puffiness. I know some of you all may be thinking, hey, we've already seen this concealer before, but no, this is a brand new concealer on the market. YSL has a Touche Éclat pen, which has been on the market for quite some time now, but that is actually not a concealer. That one is a brightening pen. But even though this looks like the same thing, it actually is a new product. This one is actually marketed as a concealer and it's supposed to have high coverage, whereas the Touche Éclat, as you all may know if you've tried it, is not a high coverage product and plus it's not supposed to conceal anything. This concealer also has YSL's optical brightening technology in it, so it's supposed to make your under eyes look more awake. I think the packaging of this concealer is really beautiful. It's gold. You do have to click up the product and then you apply it in brush strokes. The one thing that I don't like about this packaging is that it doesn't have a window, so you can't see where you are in terms of how much product you have, and you can't see your color of the product until you click it up. I would enjoy it if they had a little window that allowed us to see how much product we have left. But I'm going to go ahead and jump into the application of me using this concealer, and then I'll be back to rate this product with you all. So let's go ahead and apply our concealer. Yes, this looks like a good match. So let's apply her. Put some on my chin. Get this forehead popping. And I'm going to blend this out with my beauty blender that I use to blend out my foundation. Okay. This blended out nicely. So that's like with one coat of the concealer. I definitely feel like I need a little bit more, especially right in here where I have the darkest area. I'm going to go in with a tiny bit more right in that nook. Carefully blend this out. That looks better. It's very naturally radiant. Really pretty, youthful type glow. Give it a little bit more coverage. You can definitely build it up. So I'm going to set this with my Laura Mercier powder. So of course, I'm just patting this in with my beauty blender. I think that looks really good and smooth. I'm gonna zoom you guys in. Just like an effortless concealed area. But I'm gonna go ahead and finish off the rest of my face and I'll be right back. So let's go ahead and rate the YSL concealer. As far as smoothness, I'm going to rate this a 3. This concealer was very, very smooth. It was very creamy and it felt very good under my eyes. As far as the coverage, I'm going to rate this concealer a 2. It had coverage and you could build it up, but it definitely was a medium coverage concealer for sure. Even building it up, I still never really got full coverage, so it's definitely medium buildable. I would say this is full coverage for YSL, but it's not necessarily full coverage. As far as dryness, I'm going to rate this product a 3. This product is not drying at all. It felt very hydrating and very smooth. It didn't tug. It wasn't dry. It didn't dry down fast. It gave me enough time to blend out both of my eyes. As far as the blendability, I'm also going to rate this concealer a 3. It blended like butter. I really didn't have to do too much to get the product to blend out at all. It definitely did that on its own and it gave a very smooth blend, and I didn't have to go back and forth with the product to really get it to fuse into my skin and get my skin to look harmonious. It did it on its own. Now I am off to do my 8-hour testing. I will be back every 2 hours to show you guys updates on what the concealer is looking like. So stay tuned for that. And here's that concealer up close. So it's been 2 hours and I think my under eye looks okay at this point. It's a little bit creasier than I would prefer at this point. I do see a few little lines, you know, here. Preferably I would like to touch up and smooth out those lines, but for demonstration purposes I'm not gonna do that. I'll zoom in and I'll be back. Check it out. What you think? What you think? What you think? I'm back with my 4-hour check-in, and as you can see, there's not that big of a change to my under eye makeup from the 2-hour check-in. Admittedly, I've just been kind of tidying up for the past 2 hours, kind of Netflixing and chilling. Not that way. I've been watching Netflix in my little studio area. I still see lines and separation in my under eye area, and I don't know that I'm in love with this, but I will say I do feel like it looked like this 2 hours ago. So not that much of a change from 2 hours ago until now, but I'm not happy with the way it looks. But I'll zoom in. Yeah, as you can see, it looks pretty dry under there. I am here for my 6-hour check-in and my face looks extremely worn down today. I don't know what's going on. I guess I've had like a busy little time in between that last check-in and now. But I think that my under eye looks pretty much the same. It is creased. There are lines present. The concealer is still there. It hasn't faded away, but it just has those lines there. So I'm going to zoom in and let you guys see, and I will check back in for my final check-in in 2 hours and then do my final rating. Little lines, nothing too major. You guys can see what I'm saying. Alright guys, so it's been 8 hours and I'm ready to do my final check-in. I have on my pajama top and my makeup looks a hot mess. I'm ready to get this off my face. As far as creaseability, I'm going to rate this concealer a 1. This concealer creases like a mofo. 2 hours in, I had creases everywhere. I really haven't been feeling that. As far as the wear time, honestly, I'm going to rate this a 1 for you. Get this off me. If I were giving half scores, I would definitely give this concealer a 1.5, but I am not doing that, unfortunately. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 1 because I'm leaning more so towards that side, just because on a certain area under my eye, the concealer is just totally gone. And I don't think that's good. And plus it creased on top of that. So that really made me feel okay with my decision to give this concealer a 1. So I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see up close. There is no concealer there. What? So here's the total score for this concealer. The concealer that we're trying today is the Smashbox Studio Skin Flawless 24-Hour Concealer. This concealer retails for $24 and it has 0.27 fluid ounces in it, or 8 milliliters of product. I have the color Medium Warm Golden, and this concealer has 30 different shades. Some of the key claims of this concealer are that it's creamy, it wears for 24 hours, it has a no-tug applicator. It also claims to be medium full coverage and to correct dark circles, hyperpigmentation, and redness. I like the Arrowhead wand applicator because I feel like it fits in the nook of my eye really well, and I feel like it gives you a good amount of product without having to continuously dip into the container. So let's go ahead and jump into the application of this concealer. So let's go ahead and apply our concealer. Okay. I think this color is much too yellow. It's almost like mustardy like. Let me blend this out and see what it does. I feel like once I blend it, it blends in with my complexion, but just going on initially, it just looks really yellow. So I think it looks more lifted than it did before I put on the concealer, but I definitely feel like I need a little bit more coverage. So I'm gonna go in with a little bit more in this area, like I have to do sometimes. So I'm going to just blend this out. So I think this looks okay. Like I said, once I blended it out, it is still a little bit too golden for me. It kind of looks like jaundice because it's so yellow. Hopefully my powder can even it out. So, okay. I think that looks a little bit better with the powder. You know, it neutralized it a little bit because the powder is like that beigey type color. I'm going to go ahead and set the other side. So let's go ahead and rate this concealer. As far as smoothness, I'm going to give it a 3. It's a very smooth feeling, non-gritty concealer. As far as coverage, I'm going to rate this a 2. I feel like it's medium coverage. And as you guys saw, I applied the initial layer and it gave me decent coverage, but then I added more and it definitely let me build up this concealer. As far as dryness, I'm also going to rate this concealer a 3. This concealer felt very good. This concealer is very hydrating feeling. It doesn't feel dry at all. As far as the blendability, I'm going to rate it a 2. Average. It wasn't difficult to blend, but it was nothing that really blew my mind either. My initial gripe with this concealer is the color. Like I said in the demonstration, it almost looks like jaundice. But whenever I apply my powders and with all of my makeup all together, I don't think it looks bad. I will continue wearing it and I'll be back to do check-ins. So I'm in Sephora and it's been 2 hours. It's kind of loud, so I'm gonna make it quick. But I think my under eye looks pretty decent, honestly. It doesn't look half bad. I think it still looks a little yellow, but nothing too crazy. So I'm gonna go ahead and go. I'll check back in a few more hours. Okay guys, I'm back and I have a little bit of bad news. And I also have some good news, but I'm gonna tell you the bad news first. So because of my very eventful Saturday, I didn't get a chance to film my 4-hour check-in. I know. It just was too loud and too dark everywhere where I went, and I missed that mark. But I do have some good news, like I said. I'm here now, and it's the 6-hour mark. So I apologize guys for skipping that one, but more good news. I think the concealer still looks good, and I thought it looks good at the 4-hour mark. I really like the way that it's wearing. It's not fading, it's not creasing. I think it looks pretty dang on good. Dare I say my under eye looks snatched in a natural, like, did you get 10 hours of sleep last night? Snatched. So let me zoom in and show you. Natural. It looks good. Okay, my darling, so it has been 8 hours and I am finally ready to do my final check-in. So, as far as creasability, I'm going to rate this concealer a 3. I feel like it did very minimal creasing, and I really expected it to crease a little bit more than it did. Because the formula is so watery feeling, it feels very hydrating. But honestly, I feel like it did not crease that much at all, so it definitely earned a score of a 3. As far as the wear time, I'm going to also give this concealer a 3. It looks pretty dang on good. The only thing that I did not like about this concealer was the color, which I think that's something that can be easily fixed, especially if I can go to Sephora during the daytime and actually look at the colors and be able to step outside into natural daylight, because as you all know, that fluorescent lighting in Sephora can be very deceptive. You know what? It's not even the lighting. I remember I had to pick this concealer out from just looking at it because I got it before it was actually testers made. So that's what happened. So I got the wrong shade. Other than that color, this formulation of concealer looks bomb and it wears very well. My concealer looks good and smooth. I like it. The final score for this concealer is here. So the concealer that I'm trying today is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Light Capturing Self-Setting Concealer. Yes, that is the entire name. This concealer retails for $28 and it has 0.16 fluid ounces in it, or 5 milliliters of products. I have the color number 41 and there are 22 different shades of this concealer. Some of the key claims of this concealer are that it's creamy, it's medium buildable, it has a natural finish, and that it's self-setting. Even though in this video today, I'm going to set it with my powder. This concealer also claims to have coated pigments to cover dark circles and fine lines. And this concealer also claims to diffuse the light for the skin's appearance to be fresh and flawless. The flat-sided wand is pretty much my favorite type of applicator for concealer, so I appreciate that. But we're going to test it out, so let's go ahead and jump into the demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and try out my concealer. Apply. Now let's blend her out. Using my booty blender. Okay. Now blend it out nicely. So I'm going to go in with more because I don't feel like I have enough coverage under my eye. You guys can see that's one coat and I feel like I can still see everything I saw before I applied this concealer. So I'm going to go in with more. And let's see how this lets me build. Okay, as you all can see, it let me build up that coverage, but it's still very light. I can definitely still see the dark circles underneath my eyes and imperfections in areas where I applied this concealer. So I'm going to go ahead and even it out and apply more under the other eye. Yep, so very light coverage. But let's go ahead and set it. It looks very smooth set. I still wish I had a little bit more coverage, but it's just the daily look. It's Sunday, it's chill, it's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off the rest of my makeup and I'll be right back. So as far as the smoothness of this concealer, I'm going to rate it a 2. It's somewhat smooth. It's not gritty or anything like that, but it's not butter. As far as the coverage, I'm going to rate it a 1. This is a very light coverage concealer. You can build it up and get a little bit more, but it still doesn't quite reach medium coverage. As far as the dryness, I'm going to rate this concealer a 2. It's somewhat dry. When you initially apply it, it goes on a little bit wetter, more hydrating like, but then it starts to dry down. So 2 is what I would feel most comfortable rating this. As far as the blendability, I'm going to rate this a 3. I really feel like this concealer blends out really well. It blends out very easily. It doesn't tug or anything like that, and it's not thick. So I'm going to wear this concealer for the next 8 hours, and I will do check-ins for you guys and let you all see what it looks like in the 2-hour increments. So here's a close-up of what my under eye looks like. So I have to do a quick check-in because it's loud in here. I'm at Red Robin, Young. My under eye looks the same. The concealer still is there. It just looks drier. So I'll check back in a quieter place. All Alright guys, so I am at my 4th hour check-in, and I think my under eyes look a little bit creasy. They also look dry, but I thought they looked dry initially, so that's not a new development in the story. My eyes have not been watering today, so there's no reason that some of the concealer shouldn't be right there on that inner tear duct area. I just ate burgers, so my lip area is a little bit jacked. Maybe I should have fixed that, but hey, we're not perfect. So I'm gonna zoom in and I'll check back in 2 more hours. You see that crease? I don't know about that. I'm back with my 6th hour check-in, and I think my under eyes are super creasy now. Mission abort. I'm not feeling the way that this looks. My under eye looks dehydrated. It looks dry. I look tired. I look decrepit. I just cannot take it. I cannot wait until 2 more hours are up so I can wash off my makeup. But I will come in closer and let you guys see what everything looks like. Alright guys, so it's been 8 hours and I am ready to do my final check-in. So as far as the creasability of this concealer, it is getting a 1. It creases like a mofo. It creased really bad throughout the day. And it started about at hour 1. By hour 2 it had creased. By hour 4 it had creased even more. Hour 6 and so on and so forth. So basically what I'm saying is that my under eye looks like a wrinkly piece of paper. And I'm not here for it. It's dry and it's creasy and I do not like the way that it looks. And as far as the wear time, definitely going to give this concealer a 1 as well. I feel like it did not wear well throughout the day. I was not outside a lot. I didn't have a bad allergy day. I have sensitive eyes, and sometimes my eyes tearing up will affect the quality of my makeup underneath them. And sometimes it can be a little bit rough under there. But honestly, I've worn this concealer a few different times, and every time I feel the exact same way. I feel like it's dry and I feel like it's creasy. And I feel like it doesn't give enough coverage for it to be as matte as it is. My personal preferences are, if I'm going to have something very matte, I need to have full coverage, because to have something that's matte and it doesn't give you enough coverage is horrible. I'll go ahead and zoom in. Here's the final score for this concealer. The concealer that we are trying out today is the Fenty Beauty Pro Filt'r Instant Retouch Concealer, and I've reviewed this concealer already on my channel, but I needed to revisit this concealer again in this video and put it against all the other new launches. So that's why we're doing it again. So this concealer retails for $26 and it has 0.27 fluid ounces of product in it, or 8 milliliters. I have a new color than I did when I initially reviewed this. I have the color 255 now, and this concealer range has an unprecedented 50 shades of concealer. Nobody has 50 shades of concealer. And when it's that many shades of concealer, you all probably can wear several different shades, as can I. I went back and got this one because I feel like it's a closer match. So some of the key points of this concealer are that it's creamy, crease proof, soft matte, full coverage, sweat resistant, and designed to wear with her Pro Filt'r foundation. But in this video, I'm not wearing that foundation because I have to keep it constant, and you know, I'm not going to switch it up. But this concealer was super hyped up, so I'm excited to be trying it again on my video to let you guys know what I think about it in an updated manner. So let's go ahead and jump into the demonstration. You guys can see me apply this concealer again. I will have the original video I did reviewing this concealer and the powder that she launched down in the description box. But let's see how it measures up to the other concealers in this video. Enjoy. So I'm going to go ahead and apply my concealer. I'm going to go ahead and blend her out. All right. I think this concealer blends out and looks really pretty. Definitely I'm going to set it. Okay. So I think that looks really good set initially. It looks bright, it gave good coverage, really snatched. But let me go ahead and finish off the rest of my face and I'll come back and show you all everything all together. That initial application though. So I'm back and I have everything all on. Let's go ahead and rate this concealer. So as far as the smoothness, I'm going to rate this concealer a 3. It is extremely smooth. It feels very buttery and just velvety. As far as the coverage, I'm going to rate this concealer a 3. In my opinion, it's medium full to full coverage. So you can definitely take this a notch down from the amount of coverage that you guys saw that I have today on my face. But if I'm going with my scoring system, it falls more into the category of 3 than 2. As far as dryness, I'm going to rate this a 3. This is a very hydrating / moisturizing drying concealer. It is not dry at all. And as far as the blendability, I'm also going to rate this concealer a 3. It blends out really smoothly, very easily. So now let's move on to our 8-hour test, and I will check in every 2 hours and show you guys the progress of this concealer. Okay guys, so it's my 2-hour check-in, and I think my under eye looks pretty good. I actually see a little bit of creasing, but nothing too bad. From afar, I feel like I look flawless, but up close, you can kind of see where the creasing is happening. But I will zoom you guys in so you all can see. It's a very little bit of creasing, not a lot. I'll check you in 2 more hours. Girl power. So I've had this concealer on for 6 hours now, and it looks good. It actually hasn't creased that much more than when it did from the 2 hours. And I think my under eye looks flawless. I got the little girl with me. This is my mama.
Hello, and it's my birthday.
It's your birthday.
It's my birthday. It's my birthday.
Sis.
Oh.
Okay. I'll check back in 2 more hours.
All right.
It's been 8 hours, and I'm ready to come back and give you guys my final thoughts on this concealer. As far as creasability, I'm gonna rate it a 2. Now, let me say that the first time that I wore this concealer and I wore it with the Fenty powder, it would have gotten a 1. But wearing this concealer with my Laura Mercier powder, it creased a little bit more than I wanted it to. But it's not bad, and from far away, it looks really pretty. Which brings me to my next point, wear time. I'm gonna say it looks pretty good. I just got back in the house. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I think my makeup looks good, especially my under eye. And I teared up a little bit down here, so it's a little bit creasier than I wanted it to be, but I mean, I think it looks pretty good. Here's the overall score for the concealer. Okay guys, so the concealer that we're trying today is the Milani Conceal Plus Perfects Concealer. My voice is gone, so please bear with me. This concealer retails for $8.99, and it has 0.17 fluid ounces or 5 milliliters of product in it. I have the color 145 Warm Beige, and this concealer has 18 different colors in its shade range. Some of the key claims of this concealer are that it's creamy, full coverage, and water resistant. It also says that it lasts up to 12 hours, and it has vitamin E to replenish skin's moisture. Let's go ahead and jump to the demonstration. That way you guys can see me apply it. Let's go ahead and apply. Blend it out. I blended out really well. So I think that looks really good so far. I'm going to go ahead and set it and see what it looks like then. So here it is set and then unset. I think it looks good. Now I'm going to finish off the rest of my face. As far as smoothness, I'm going to rate this concealer a 3. I think this concealer is exceptionally smooth. The formula is smooth and it looks smooth under my eyes. As far as coverage, I'm also going to rate this concealer a 3. I think it gives full coverage. You definitely can sheer it down by using a little bit less than what I did, but overall, I'm going to give it a 3. As far as dryness, I'm going to give this a 3. It's very moisturizing / hydrating. I think it feels very good as well. And as far as the blendability, I'm also going to rate this a 3. I feel like it blends like butter. Smooth and blendable. So I'll be back in 2 hours to show you all the progress. So I'm back for my 2-hour check-in. My voice is kind of warmed up and I can talk a little bit better now, but I think that my concealer still looks really good. It's very smooth. I had a little bit of an incident here with some tearing, but other than that, this concealer is holding up really nicely and it looks good and brightening. So I'll be back. I'm actually in a parking garage, so it's kind of loud. So I'll be back in 2 more hours. So I'm in the hallway at Target. My under eye looks good. It's a little dry looking now, but I've had it on for 4.5 hours. I think we're still in the house. I think it still looks good. There's no fading. My eyes teared up a little bit in the mall, but I think I still look good. So I'll be back. So I am back for my 6th hour check-in, except for it's actually probably my 7th hour, to be completely honest. Really? I don't know why I try to do check-in videos on Saturdays when I know that I am normally gone all Saturday. Like literally every time. So I apologize about being a little bit late, but I think that my concealer looks good, but my under eye looks atrocious because my eyeliner is like bleeding all over here and it's ruining my concealer's effect and my concealer's reputation. But my concealer looks good. My voice doesn't sound good, but my concealer is still there and it's still good. That concealer still is fire. That eyeliner,
But that concealer though, it's good.
So it's been 8 hours and I'm ready to do my final check-in. So as far as the creaseability of this concealer, I'm going to rate it a 3. I don't think it creases at all. My under eye looks a mess, but not from the concealer, from my eyeliner. My eyeliner ruins my under eye situation, but this concealer is still there. It still looks good. It's moisturizing and hydrating, but at the same time, it gives me a longevity that I don't think I've seen with any of the other concealers that I've tested. And as far as the wear time, I think that goes without saying. I'm also going to give this concealer a 3. I am extremely impressed with this concealer, the wear time of the concealer, the way that it looks on my under eye. I feel like my under eye looks snatched.
If you just eliminate this little tear over here and these like little smudges, the concealer looks good.
I'm here for it. So I'm going to preserve my voice, but here's my final score. The concealer that we're trying today is the NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop Concealer. First of all, I cannot say that without singing. Can't stop, won't stop, Rockefeller records, so we get down, baby, we get down. I don't have to explain that little outburst because if you know, you know. But anyways, but this concealer retails for $8.50 and it has 0.11 fluid ounces or 3.5 milliliters of products. I have the color 12.7 Neutral Tan and there are 24 different colors in this concealer range. Some of the key claims of this concealer are that it's lightweight, blendable, and matte, and that it's full coverage and it lasts 24 hours. We'll see what it lives up to. Let's go ahead and put this concealer to the test. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the concealer. I probably could have gone up one color, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and blend it out. Feels kind of sticky blending it out. Maybe it'll stay longer. It dries down kind of quickly, so you gotta work fast. Let me add a little bit more right here. I'm gonna go eye by eye just because this does dry fast. So here's what it looks like not set. I'm gonna go ahead and set it with my beauty blender. Let's do it. So here's what it looks like set. I'm going to finish off the rest of my makeup and I'll be right back and I'll show you guys everything all together. So let's go ahead and rate this concealer. As far as smoothness, I'm going to rate it a 2. It's not that it's not smooth, it's just that it's not overly smooth to warrant a 3, but it's not bad enough to warrant a 1. It's just right there in the middle. As far as coverage, I'm also going to rate this concealer a 2. I feel like I got a good medium full amount of coverage with me layering it, and it did allow me to layer it and build upon it. So as far as dryness, I'm going to rate this a 2. So when it first comes out of the container, it's pretty creamy and it allows you to glide it on, but it does dry pretty quickly, so you have to work fast. Once it starts to dry down, it does lose a little bit of the slip that it had when you first applied it. And as far as the blendability, I'm also going to rate this concealer a 2. It's okay. It wasn't stiff like cement or anything like that. It didn't have that smooth formula that allowed me to blend it out like effortlessly. So far this concealer has gotten nothing but 2s. So stay tuned to see if it gets anything higher or lower. So I'll check you guys in 2 hours. Alright guys, so I am back to do my 2-hour check-in, and I will admit that my last clip that I filmed is not that far away from this clip. What had happened was that I did my concealer and then I filmed another video. Consequently, I've had this concealer on for 2 hours. So let's go ahead and check in and I'll tell you guys my thoughts. Right now, I feel like the concealer looks okay. I do see a little bit of darkness here that I feel like could be covered a little bit better. And I feel like my under eye looks slightly dry, but I will say it does not have any creasing. The creasing is very, very slight that I see now. I feel like it looks smooth, but a little bit drier than I like it to look.
Like, it's really no creases. Nothing that the concealer can prevent or anything like that. It does look a little bit drier, and I would like a little bit more coverage specifically here, and I already put more concealer there. There's only so much concealer you can put somewhere before it looks cakey, so I think this is as good as it's gonna cover. So I'm at JCPenney's and I'm doing my 4-hour check-in, and honestly, I have the same assessment as I did for the 2-hour check-in. The concealer's still there, so it's wearing evenly. People are coming. Okay, bye. Can you see the concealer? Okay, I'm back for my 6-hour check-in, and
Same thing. I think my under eye still looks dry, but the concealer is still there. It's not cracking. It's not fading. It looks pretty much the same as it did 4 hours ago, except for it looks a little bit drier because my oils have broken through on the rest of my face. My under eye looks stark dry. So I'll zoom in and let you guys see, and then I'll come back in 2 more hours and give you guys my final check-in.
And I think it looks halfway better on camera than it does in real life, but it's very dry.
I am back. It has been 8 hours, so let's do the final tests. So as far as creaseability, I'm gonna give this concealer a 3. My under eye really has not creased. It is there. When they said it lasts for 24 hours, I agree with that. However, I'm going to give this a 2 for the wear time, simply because it's a little bit drier than I want it to be, but it's still smooth. There's no creasing. It still gave me the same amount of coverage as it did when I initially applied it. I just am not the biggest fan of the formula. That's not to say that it didn't wear consistently, and I have to give it props for staying in place all day. It just doesn't have enough coverage for me, and I actually want it to be a little bit more emollient, and it's not. But aside from that, it is still there. So here's the overall score for this concealer. So the concealer that we're trying today is the e.l.f. 16-Hour Camo Concealer. This concealer retails for $5 and it has 0.203 fluid ounces or 6 milliliters of product. I have the color medium beige and there are 18 different colors in this concealer lineup. However, there were only about 4 or 5 in my Target, so I just grabbed this shade because this one was the closest one from what they had available. So I went with this so I didn't have to wait, even though there's probably a closer match in concealer in the lineup than this color. This one is a little bit lighter, but I made it work. Some of the key claims of this concealer is that it's full coverage, long wearing, up to 16 hours, and crease resistant. They also claim that this concealer is creamy and dreamy, so we will see. The design of this concealer really reminded me of the infamous Tarte Shape Tape, even though it's not exactly the same. It just puts you in that mind frame because this concealer is short and stout, just like the Tarte Shape Tape, even though Tarte Shape Tape is a little bit longer, and the e.l.f. Camo Concealer has that really big doe foot applicator like its predecessor, the Tarte Shape Tape. But let's go ahead and jump into the demonstration so you guys can see this concealer in action. So let's go ahead and apply our concealer. I am going to work side by side just because I know this concealer dries down really fast. Okay? So I apply a good amount and now let's blend her. This concealer formula is a little bit drier. Sometimes it takes up the edges of my makeup, so to better blend it, I'm going to go back in with a little bit of foundation just right on the edge of that just to blend it out. You all can see the difference a concealed side versus a non-concealed side makes. I love concealer. So I have the concealer on. As you guys can see, it's a little bit lighter than my complexion, and as a result of that, I don't really like it on my T-zone area to highlight, as well as because I think it's a little bit drier. But this is what it looks like unset. It looks like it'll do well by itself, but for continuity purposes, I'm going to go ahead and set it. Okay, here's what it looks like set with the powders. Now I'm going to finish off the makeup on the rest of my face, and I'll be back to share the ratings with you guys. As far as smoothness, I'm going to rate this concealer a 2. It's not an overly gritty concealer, but I feel like it could be a little bit smoother in the application and not as thick. As far as the coverage of this concealer, this is a 3, a very full coverage concealer. A little bit goes a very long way. As far as the dryness of this concealer, I'm going to give this a 1. This is a very dry concealer to the point where you guys saw I can only do one side at a time, and then when blending it out on the edges of my foundation, I actually had to go back in with some of my foundation and blend out those edges, simply because this concealer would really drag trying to do that, and it would actually lift up my makeup. So it's easier to just add a little bit more of my foundation right where that concealer ends versus trying to buff that concealer out and messing up my makeup. As far as the blendability, I'm also going to rate this a 1. I feel like it could definitely blend a little bit better with a little bit more of an emollient products. Like if I mix this with a little bit of an oil, I feel like it would do wonders for this concealer. So right now it's a little bit later in the evening, about 5 o'clock, but even still, I'm going to do the 8-hour challenge and check in every 2 hours and let you guys see what this concealer is wearing like. So stay tuned. So I'm back with my 2-hour check-in, and I think my under eye looks a little bit dry and a little bit creased, but nothing too major. I think it looks good from far away, but up close you see the subtleties in the dryness and the little minor imperfections. But overall, I think it's giving me a look, and it's definitely concealing under my eye. And that's especially important when you have a very dramatic eye look. You need a concealer that's going to snatch your under eye. And I feel like this concealer did that, but I would just say make sure that you're moisturized first.
You guys can see 2 hours later.
Okay guys, so I am back for my 4-hour check-in, and I think my under eye looks pretty much the same as it did at the 2-hour check-in. I really don't have too much more creasing than what I did initially. My concealer still is intact. It has not moved, it's not budged. It still looks a tad bit dry, but other than that, it's wearing consistently. So I'll check back in 2 more hours and let you guys see the update. So I'm back for my 6-hour check-in, and honestly, I'm getting a little winded. I've lost my energy, guys. It's like 11:30, which isn't normally late for me, but for some reason today, I'm kind of tired. So I think my under eye looks a little bit more crepey than it did 2 hours ago. I feel like it looks a little bit drier, which is interesting, especially since the rest of my face looks a little bit oilier or a little bit dewier, as I prefer to say. But I think my under eye area looks okay, especially for this to be a $5 concealer. So it's holding up better than I thought it was going to. However, it doesn't look as hydrated as I like for my under eye to look. I will give it 2 more hours and come back and do the final ratings with you guys, which I'm very excited about. So I'll zoom in and let you guys see what it looks like now.
Okay, 6 hours.
Alright guys, so it has been 8 hours and I am ready to do my final check-in. So let's go ahead and get to it. As far as the creasability of this concealer, I'm going to rate it a 2. It creases a little bit more than I like. And as far as the wear time, I'm also going to rate this concealer a 2. I feel like it wears pretty decently. It's not like I feel like I just look super glamorous, but the concealer did stay. It's not faded. It has minimal creasing. The biggest thing that I don't like about it is that it looks a little bit drier. But other than that, the freaking concealer looks pretty good. Like if it wasn't as dry, I would say this concealer is super bomb. So the final score of this concealer is here. So thank you all so much for staying tuned and watching until the end of the video. This is a beautiful journey that I love to take and explore different concealers and figure out which one prevails. So the overwhelming response that I got from my last concealer video is that you guys loved it, but you wish that I would rank them. So I definitely am going to be doing that. But first, I want to tell you guys which ones came in what place. But because I'm in the future, I haven't actually tallied it up. So I'm just going to be inserting names here. This is purely based off of the scores results. So I wanted to rank the concealers based on my personal feelings of them and which ones I enjoyed using the most. So coming in last place is the Makeup Forever concealer, and that's simply because I just felt like that concealer was a little bit too drying and it didn't give me enough coverage, so I placed it last. In 7th place, I have the e.l.f. concealer, and that's because, again, I felt like that concealer was a little bit too dry, but it did give me the coverage. So for $5, that concealer was pretty decent. Coming in 6th place is the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop concealer. In 5th place was the YSL Touche Éclat High Cover Concealer. That one was a decent concealer, but just not my favorite. It didn't give me enough coverage, and I felt like it didn't really have the longevity that I was looking for. In 4th place is the Fenty Beauty Pro Filt'r Concealer, and I like the formulation of this concealer. I like the coverage, but I just feel like it creases a little bit more than I like it to. So it's just right in the middle. It's not bad, but it's not my favorite. In 3rd place, I have the Smashbox Studio Skin Concealer, and I really like that concealer for every day. I just didn't really like my color. So I really want to revisit this concealer and maybe get a different color because I know that they have a large color expansion. the Milani Conceal Plus Perfects Concealer. And I really enjoyed this concealer. So much so that I actually included it in my February favorites because I feel like that concealer is phenomenal. It wore really well, it applied beautifully, and I'm just a huge fan of it. High-end, mid-range, and drugstore Milani is that girl right now. And that leaves us with the number one slot, which I think that you guys can guess by process of elimination which one is in that slot. But just in case you don't remember all of the concealers that I tried, it is the Giorgio Armani Power Fabric Concealer. I am in love with that concealer. I feel like it's such a beautiful formula. I love it for every day. When I applied it, my under eye just looked awakened, but not weighed down. And that concealer is so lightweight and it gives you such great coverage that I am in love with it. A little bit goes a very long way. I love my color match. I love the way that it wears, and I'm just here for that concealer. So I'm happy to have so many new concealers in my arsenal. I don't even see where I'm gonna need a new concealer for at least another year. But you guys know as they come out, I'm gonna keep testing them. So let me know your favorites on me down in the comments section. I look forward to reading those comments, and I will check you guys in my very next video, which will be super soon. Smooches. Bye.